Now clap your hands together so you can match them up.
Okay. Do you think that Damian Lillard and Anfernee Simons are going to be able to play together?
Okay. Just let us get that out of the way one time. I knew that was going to happen. I knew that was going to happen on the first. It's funny how that never happened until we got everything set up.
And we'll be fine.
We had to get the verses.
Okay, do I need to clap again?
I didn't stop. Hold on. Oh, that's perfect. That's a blooper reel.
That's our first podcast moment right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright.
Do you think that Damian Lillard and Anfernee Simons can coexist? Can they play in the same backcourt together? And do you think they could carry us? Do you think they could carry us on a deep run, maybe even to the championship? What do you think?
So, I would say that there's a lot of questions you have to ask yourself. And it's a question about timelines, and it's a question about fit. First thing I would say would be, in my opinion, no, because as currently constructed, the roster is not in balance. You got holes at both the 3 and the 4. I love Little, but he's been so injury prone, you don't know what he's going to give you. And then you got a wide open hole at the 4. And while you do have pieces to maybe add around Lillard and Simons and Nurkic.
The guy from Detroit, what's his name?
Jeremy Grant.
Jeremy Grant, yeah.
But it's just a matter of, do you think that you can fill the holes around those guys' defensive deficiencies? Because that's a major question.
That's definitely where we're lacking.
Yeah. What about you? What do you think?
So, one thing with the NBA lately, it seems like the best teams currently constructed have a good, healthy mix of established veterans and like the young kind of potential, the young guys, sort of an excitement on the team. Like you look at the Warriors with their established core, obviously, and then they bring in some of these rookies that are making huge impacts, guys like Jordan Poole and the big dude that they have too. Can't think of his name right now. Yeah.
Valencia?
Not Valencia. But they've done a good job of adding like a lot of young guys that have kind of springboarded them back into the playoff picture, the title picture. And the Suns are kind of the same way. They're built around like a mixture of veteran players and young talent. So I feel like that could work. That there's potential for that to work. But I do get where you're coming from. We don't have Draymond Green on our team. We don't have a Mikal Bridges or a guy like that.
Here's my response. What is your counter to Defensive Player of the Year? Like you just said, we don't have Draymond Green, but that's my major question is...
I think Jeremy Grant is... like if we could get him, he does add something that we haven't had on the team for years. I'm not saying he could be a Defensive Player of the Year or even like is a shoo-in for that, but just those types of guys. And
Agreed. I would agree with that, but then you look at the comparison, and I am a big homer, but you look down the roster, and you got Curry. Who's better, Dame or Curry?
I know Dame's not. I've been saying this for years, that why can't the Blazers just be like the Warriors, and it's because Lillard isn't Curry.
Slightly.
And we don't have Draymond, and we don't have Klay Thompson.
It's just... And then you just look, how do you get the pieces at other positions to make up for the slightly worse version? And it's like, I don't see a way to do that without signing and trading Simons or just building around Simons. I feel like those are the two avenues, and you got to look at it as hard as it is, as big of a Blazer fan as I am.
Man, it would be tough to see Lillard in a Lakers uniform or something. That'd be brutal, man. Wasn't it fun this year though to actually, for the limited time we saw him, wasn't it fun to see Josh Hart like actually play some defense?
Totally.
That was the first time in like years I felt like where we had a guy who was like, since Wesley Matthews probably, since we had a guy that was like out there stripping the ball and getting fast break dunks and stuff. It was fun to see. It'd be fun to see Lillard paired up with a guy like him, and Simons maybe.
Heartthrob. But that's my point right there. You just nailed it. It'd be fun to see Lillard and Hart a guy who is kind of like, Matthews, but maybe with even a little bit more ball handling.
What's the contract status on Hart?
Hart is pretty low salary. I want to say he's under half a CJ, but
do we have him signed up for next year?
Yeah, definitely. He's under contract for another year. I want to say it's a team option this year, and then next year it's a really weird deal where either the team or the player can end the deal. But let's just see what we're looking at.
Yeah, it would be fun to see like Simons and Lillard. Again, I agree that they like both need the ball in their hands. They're both like long range shooters. They seem to be the best off pick and rolls coming off for threes and stuff. But it'd be fun to see them like teamed up with some actual defensive athleticism, like guys like Hart and Little and stuff like that. Even though if Little can be on the floor potentially, but I mean that's a step above from Robert Covington and Derek Jones Jr. You have to admit.
Yeah, and you look at I'm looking at Hart's contract now, and you see, he made $12 million this year, and next year he makes under $13 million, 12.9. So
we got him for one more year after this.
Another year plus there's a player option on the third year, but I think it's a weird contract that you don't really see a lot of. So that's my point. Like, imagine the pieces you could get for Simons in a sign and trade to maybe fill in the spot at the 3 or the 4.
What are you looking at for Simons? Would you want like multi-players, or would you want one big superstar?
I mean, Simons is the young up and coming prospect that would entice a lot of people to part ways with their like good blue chip players.
You'd almost be able to get as much for him as Lillard, I feel like, just because of the potential there.
True, and that lies with your strategy. You can choose 2 routes, and I think, you could go the third route. I just would try to, if you're the championship or bust mindset, you have to think
do you think it has to be done this off season, or do you think we could give them a trial run for like a season, or maybe like half a season if it really doesn't go well, like half a season, but if it does go well, like maybe give them a playoff run?
Let me walk you through a scenario that formed in my head.
I'm walking through it.
Yeah, okay, we're strolling. So let's just say you do try and swing for Jeremy Grant, right? They don't want just that Bucks pick, so you got to throw in your seconds and your whatever, your Keon Johnson or whatever you can do to get the pick, and then the trade exception, and then that works pretty well, but you're sitting here at the 7th seed and you're back in the play-in, and then you're just back in the purgatory, and
no one wants that. No one wants that.
I mean, it is all what ifs, but you still have holes to fill in, and then you're looking at you've traded away some of your future assets, and where are we at now? We're still not close enough, and yet now if we do trade Dame, we will get picks back, but we're not in the spot for the future that we would have been if we would have just pulled one or the other. So you can do both. Like, I think you can do it both ways. It's just you have to live with the results if it doesn't work out, and
especially if Lillard's not the same player that he was. I mean, God forbid.
Yeah.
But he's coming off a major surgery. He had the worst season of his career last year.
Yep.
And if he shows he's not the same player, then the return you get on him is probably a lot less than you get this offseason.
Exactly.
But man, would it be hard to get rid of Dame.
Oh yeah,
that would be
when
brutal.
I say trade Dame, I don't mean like.
Yeah, you don't say it flippant. You don't say it flippantly.
Yeah, I've been there. I watched both of Dame's buzzer beaters in person, and those are some of my best sports memories. It's just.
The watch.
I know, he is the Blazers, so it's not like it'd be easy for me. That's why, even though in my heart of hearts it might be better to trade around Simons because he's up and coming, it's hard to trade Dame. You just can't do it on a clear conscience.
There's really the business side of it too, of like, think about the season ticket holders and stuff. Yeah. Like, that we don't really have a clear-cut GM right now, a guy that's like probably like empowered with making these sorts of decisions, so it could be pretty tough for him to move Dame this year with if looking at it from the business side.
Exactly.